Sanday is one of the inhabited islands of Orkney that lies off the north coast of mainland Scotland, with an area of 50.43 square kilometres. It is the third largest of the Orkney Islands. The main centres of population are Lady Village and Kettletoft.Sanday can be reached by Orkney Ferries or by plane from Kirkwall on the Orkney Mainland. Cultural activities revolve around the school. Etymology. The Picts were the pre-Norse inhabitants of Sanday, but very few place names remain from this period. The Norse named the island Sanday or Sandoy because of the predominance of sandy beaches, and this became Sandy during the Scots and English-speaking periods. The similarly named Sandoy is in the Faroe Islands. Many places and natural features derive from Old Norse. According to Dorwood, the place name Kettletoft means Kettle's Croft, although toft in this context may mean abandoned site of house, from the Norse topt. The suffix bista found in Celebista and Overbista is from Bölstath, meaning dwelling or farm. Other common suffixes are ness and wick from the Norse viken nesen, meaning bay and headland, respectively. According to Francis Groom, Otterswick was originally known as Odenswich. Geography and Geology. Sanday lies south of North Ronaldsay and east of Ede and Westray. It is divided naturally into two roughly equal halves by Otterswick, a bay which runs in from the north, and Kettletoft Bay in the south. The narrow isthmus between them formed the boundary between the historic parishes Cross and Burness to the west and Lady to the east. The novelist Eric Linklater described Sanday's shape seen from the air as being like that of a giant fossilized bat. Changing post-glacial sea levels will have much altered the shape of this low-lying island since the last ice age. William Trail described a gale in 1838 which removed 20 hectares of sand in Otterswick Bay. This revealed a dark layer of decayed vegetation under fallen trees up to 60 centimeters in diameter. The trees lay as if felled by a storm, and were visible under the sea for 6.5 kilometers. A search for these tree remains in the 20th century was unsuccessful. Inland it is fertile and agricultural, and there is some commercial lobster fishing. The underlying geology is predominantly Devonian sediments of the Rousay Flagstone group, with Ede sandstone in the southeast. There are several small bodies of fresh water on the island, including North Loch B Loch near Kettletoft and Rose Loch on the Burness Peninsula. Prehistory. The Neolithic coiness-chambered cairn dates from around 2900 BC. An arc of Bronze Age mounds surrounds this cairn on the Elsness Peninsula. A large man-made mound at Poole was excavated in the 1980s. This indicated a Neolithic structure made of turf or burnt peat, a later pre-Viking subcircular structure with pavings and cells, and a Viking stone and turf rectangular building dated to the late 8th or early 9th century. Various implements were also discovered, including pre-Norse hipped pins and pottery from both the pre-Viking and Norse periods. A predominance of fish and animal bones suggests the site was used for meat processing. Storms in January 2005 exposed a Bronze Age burnt burial mound at Moor. There are several ruined Iron Age brocks on the island, such as the Brock of Wasso, a 5-meter-high mound at Tresness. The nature of the culture that built the brocks remains a matter of debate, but it is known that later Iron Age Orkney was part of the Pictish kingdom, and from at least the mid-6th century onwards that Christianity had spread to the islands. However, the archaeological record for this period is sparse, and little is known of life on Sanday at this time beyond that which can be assumed from a knowledge of Pictish society elsewhere. History. Orkney became part of the Scandinavian polity from perhaps the 9th century onwards. In 1985 the Scarboat burial was discovered on the coast of Sanday near Burness. This Norse-era vessel, which had been 6.5-metre long and 1.5-metre wide, had rotted away, leaving more than 300 iron rivets. The enclosure, dated to 875 to 950 AD, was found to contain the remains of a man, a woman, and a child, along with numerous grave goods. These included a sword, quiver with arrows, bone comb, gaming pieces, and the skull dragon plaque made from whalebone. During the medieval period, Sanday had 36 ounslands, which may have been divided into two Huseby districts for taxation purposes, with Lady to the east forming a unit with Stronsay and Cross and Burness to the west being combined with Ede and other isles to the west and north. The main farm for the western district may have been located between Poole Bay and Worcester at a site called Housey that is now just a mound. In the mid-17th century, an annex to Blau's Atlas Novus of Scotland recorded that Sanday's low-lying topography meant that shipwreck often occurs to those who sail there at night. The inhabitants of Sanday earnestly and often desire this to happen, so that they get a supply of material for fire from the wrecked ships. The writer went on to state that the lack of peat meant that dried seaweed was saved like treasure for cooking fires, and that only the better off citizens could afford to bring peat from Ede over the most fearful sea. Writing in the early 18th century, the Rev. John Brand described island life thus: "Both men and women are fashionable in their cloths. No men here use plaids, as they do in our highlands, in the North Isles of Sand or Western and Amp Sea. Many of the country people wear a piece of a skin, as of a scale, commonly called a selch, car for the lick, for shoes, which they fasten to the feet with strings or thongs of leather. The houses are in good order, and well furnished, according to the qualities. They generally speak English." As part of the agricultural improvement movement of the 19th century, the brothers Malcolm and Samuel Lame created a new model farm near the Loth Ferry terminal at the south end of the island. They introduced merino sheep, and the ruins of the steam engine house and the red brick chimney and boiler house are still visible. Although such innovations brought increased productivity and were widely copied in Orkney, they also impoverished the substantial population of landless cotters who were increasingly marginalized. During World War II, the Royal Air Force built a chain home radar station at Whalehead near Loch Ness. This necessitated the building of a large camp at Langhamite to house the military personnel, which incorporated a cinema. Sanday also once boasted the most northerly passenger railway in the United Kingdom, a privately owned rideable miniature installation near Braeswick, the Sanday Light Railway. Start Point Lighthouse. Start Point Lighthouse on Sanday was completed on the 2nd of October 1806 by engineer Robert Stevenson. It was the first Scottish lighthouse to have a revolving light, and since 1915 has exhibited distinctive black and white vertical stripes which are unique in Scotland. The light was automated in 1962 and is powered by a bank of 36 solar panels. Despite the presence of the lighthouse, HMS Goldfinch was wrecked in fog on Start Point in 1915. Current island activities. Sanday boasts 2 golf courses, a 9-hole links course of 2,600 yards run by Sanday Golf Club, and the 1-hole Meadowland PD golf course of 57 yards at West Manse. In 2004, 3 wind turbines with an installed capacity of 8.25 megawatts were erected by Scottish and Southern Energy at Spurnes. Sanday Community Community Council successfully negotiated a wind farm community fund with SSE which will be benefiting the people of the island for the lifetime of the turbines, anticipated to be 20 to 25 years. In 1996, the Sandy Development Group was formed to promote tourism. This group became Sandy Development Trust in 2004, which has a vision to create an economically prosperous, sustainable community that is connected with the wider world, but remains a safe, clean environment, where we are proud to live, able to work, to bring up and educate our children, to fulfill our own hopes and ambitions, and to grow old gracefully, enjoying a quality of life that is second to none. Projects include the establishment of a sports hall and youth centre, the creation of a local sound archive, and a countryside ranger service. A district tartan has been designed for Sandy by one of the island's residents, although it has not yet been officially adopted by the island authorities. It represents the sea, the distinctive sandy beaches and green meadows of the island, and the vertical stripes of Start Point Lighthouse. In July 2008, a concert held on the island was the culmination of an innovative musical project. The main aim of project was to set up a music teacher training program that would provide additional music tuition in the school and throughout the community. Folklore. There is a legend that a Sandy girl was once given a book called the Book of Black Art by a witch, and that the devil would claim the soul of anyone who still owned the book at their death. She managed to pass the book on to a clergyman who still owned the book at his death in 1903. At the ruined kirk of Lady, near Overbuster, are the Devil's Claw marks, incised parallel grooves in the parapet of the kirk. Natural history. Seals and otters can be found in and around Sandy. There are several SSSIs on the island, and the marine coast around the east of the island is designated a special protection area due to presence of sand dune and macaque habitats, rare outside the Hebrides, as well as extensive intertidal flats and salt-in marsh. People associated with Sandy. Matthew Armour, Sanday's radical Free Kirk minister who lived at the Westminster for over half a century. Stuart Christie, Glasgow anarchist who ran the radical publishing house Cienfuegos Press from here during the late 1970s. William Towery Cutt, author born on Sandy. Peter Maxwell Davies, former master of the Queen's music. Walter Trail Dennison, Orcadian folklorist born on Sandy. David Harvey, a former Leeds United and Scotland goalkeeper. Geoffrey Hayes, actor and children's TV presenter, had a holiday cottage here in the early 1980s. George Faulkner Francis Horwood, Deputy Lieutenant of Orkney who lived at Scar House. Liam MacArthur MSP for Orkney. John D. Mackay, headmaster of Sandy School from 1946 to 1970. William Sichel, international ultra-distance runner, world No. 1 for the six-day event in 2006, has represented Great Britain 11 times since 1996.